Hi, my name is Mark Walker and I'm the editorial director at the FinTech Times. We're here at Seamless Middle East in Dubai and we're here with Seamless TV. Perhaps you could introduce yourself to the audience, please.
Yeah, lovely. So I'm Farshad Nowshadi. I'm the Vice President and more consultant to the board of Saman Bank, as one of the leading banks in the Middle East. I also do a lot of mentoring and venture capital work at Level 39, which is one of the largest FinTech communities. And I've done a fair bit amount of work. For 25 years, I used to work for Works Financial Services. I've written several books on finance and technology. That's where my bread and butter is. And I've done some little work of consultancy work for Microsoft and Deutsche Bank and some relationship with Google, which I love.
Wonderful.
So that's a little bit of background about me.
Fantastic. So you're just hot off stage.
Yes.
A rounding success, I understand. Tell us a little bit about your
So
subject.
Let's go ahead.
Yeah. So what was your points and what was your speech about?
Excellent question. I mean, I feel very, very passionate about this. I think that here at Seamless, there's so many different innovations and technical services, financial services. I think in the next 5 years, 80% of them will become redundant. I think we're just in a wave of changes happening. And I was really talking about wake up, smell the coffee. The coffee that we need to smell is called Web3. And I really wanted to make the difference between the metaverse and the Web3. The Web3, that technology, I think it's mind-blowing. The way it would radicalize finance, payments, how you actually own assets, I think are going to change in a mind-blowing way. So a lot of the banks and financial services today will just become dinosaurs. The question is, can they change and adapt? And I talked about, the new concepts of, and we can talk a little bit about how amazing smart contracts are, how NFTs are not just BS of associated little pictures and things, how they can actually encapsulate physical commodities. So maybe your car, maybe your home of the future can become an NFT that will then place within your wallet that you can then give to other people. And I talked about really the whole idea of the distributed financial services. That's why, for example, in my bank, we've set up a task force, or hope to really set up a very, very extensive task force, which is going to look at distributed finances in this global world, where people no longer need to have a bank account. You are your own bank. Yeah. You contain your resources. If you want to give the money to me, why do you have to transmit it by, let's say, HSBC or Citicorp or Abu Dhabi Bank or whatever? Why don't you just give your money to me? If I want to buy dirhams, for example, being located here, and you want to sell dollars, why don't we try to exchange? Of course, you would say, and it's one of the things to talk about, maybe I want to sell more dirhams and then you want to buy in dollars, whatever. So how would this work in the distributed world? Well, these great minds have thought about that. You'll have this concept of liquidity pools. You sell it against this sort of cash. The liquidity that are created that basically buys my dirhams and then maybe sells the dollars to you. So basically what I would really pass on, the thing is that, hey, everyone, look at this. I feel like this is just before the internet. In the internet, we saw, many people say it's rubbish, it's never going to take off, what the hell is it, You only have a few people ever using this. We're just at that dawn with this concept of blockchains coming through here, the way that it just makes so efficient, particularly the smart contracts. You don't need to have middlemen anymore. Therefore, paying those unnecessary 1%, 2%, you don't need estate agents in the future. We don't need intermediate providers. You don't need permission from anyone else to be able to do things. And it's no longer a geographical thing. Yeah. This distributed finance, the distributed world, I can talk a little bit more about how I see the future of the wallet.
Well, let me ask you a question first of all, though. But so some might say this is quite a utopian view on what the future may be. And I think one of the limitations we have now is not technology. The future is here now today. The problem is governments, regulators, and the people that manage the world deciding that we can do it. So what would you say to sort of people that say that maybe the digitalization of finance is actually only like 2% complete, because we're still on a very big journey before we can even think about that future you're painting?
That's a very good point. I mean, there's regulatory issues. There's also how central banks go. There's parliaments losing control. But the thing is that fundamentally, we no longer live in an island. We live in a global world. And who can basically use the technology more efficient for their own economy? They always say, build the roads and the people will come and build their houses on them. If you get one country, one community that will hold back the technologies that will be prevalent, like the distributed finance system, the fact of having the smart wallets. I'd love to talk a bit more about the smart wallets. And that would create inefficiencies. And I think naturally people will go to places which maybe embraces with control. Of course, there have to be regulatory and controls, but you've got to embrace the fact that it is a global P2P type of environment. We don't need so many intermediates, and it will mean that the business model will change.
Well, that was going to be my next question, actually, because at the moment there is a massive industry built on the 0.01% fee that's taken from this point and this point and this point, and it's built over a multitude of years.
Sure.
What happens to all the people that are employed in those companies when we go to this utopian future where we instantly send payments?
Frankly, I think it would be made redundant. Because why pay these unnecessary expenses?
Where will they go work then after that?
Maybe poetry. I don't know. Maybe we'll go into the distributed financial world. Yeah, you know, a lot of banks today are sort of supposed to make the money of holding people's account. But maybe in the future, they will then say, you hold your currency. If you give it to me, I will then in return give you 5% or 3%, or I can maybe lend it to other sort of people here. I think we've got to bear in mind in the world that everybody becomes their king or queen of their own resources. We don't need anyone else to do it for us. We can do it ourselves. And we're no longer restricted by geographical. So if you get one part of the world which says we're going to not allow this, or we're going to reduce the friction, we're not going to allow so many startups, we're not going to allow so many innovations going through. Another part of the world, which inevitably will be, we say we're going to embrace it under regulations. We're going to get rid of these frictions here. We're going to get rid of this 1%, 2%, 3% attitude. I mean, every time you swipe your card, you know, you've got your payment, you've got your network, you've got the Visa, MasterCard, credit cards.
What happens if the country that decides not to do it is the US, that holds the reserves and the underlining global currency?
I don't want to talk about individual countries. It's for them to foresight. It's just to enable business, enable efficiencies, get rid of inefficiencies that are taking place here. Yeah. So one other thing.
Let's talk a little bit about smart wallets then, shall we?
Exactly. Because I get excited about that. I see there are three types of generations of wallet. There's the generation of wallet that my wife still uses, and I keep telling her, for Christ's sake, don't use that. Which is she likes a physical card. She likes physical cash. Really dinosaur.
Wow.
Think about the inefficiency associated with that one. Okay, digital cash, I think she's seen she's seen the physical cash is useless. But she still likes the idea of using physical cards. If you think about the inefficiencies of physical cards, for example, our banks that I think issue something like 100 million physical cards. You've got the DHL, Federal Express, all the bloody plastic that takes up here, and how much the trees and resources is being wasted.
Absolutely.
Whereas you can replace that with an e-card. E-card can be, if you lose it immediately, can be updated. You know exactly where it is, geographically where you paid your expenses. You can enable and disable all this functionality. So I think that's like the first generation of sort of wallets that we can see. The second generation, the sort of wallets that we're now beginning to see with Google and Apple Pay, that basically takes that idea with the virtual card, but then they add more functionality. I mean, I'm excited about through your wallet, you can now, for example, hold your airline tickets. You can maybe hold your tickets for the train, for the theatre, your NHS are coming from the UK, vaccinations over there. And already in America, you can have your driving license already been there. And there's now talk in the future, your passports might be part of that. That's second generation. I still think there's this sort of semi-legacy. The next generation is the sexy wallets, I think. It's your cryptocurrency wallets that will contain fiat currencies in virtual forms, maybe physically, they'll be your accounts. You are holding, for example, maybe stable coins, which are related to dollars and things, or Ethereum and Bitcoin. And also, you will have another aspect, which is NFTs, non-fungible. Everyone's talking about these non-fungible tokens. Basically, it means that you own a certain property. This could be a conception, picture of your mother, a picture of your dog, or picture of some amazing thing that someone else has created. Or, and what very, very exciting in the future, NFTs can be turned into real assets, maybe. Already there's now talk, I'm so excited about that. In America, already there's an estate agent who's legally gone ahead and defined a house to be owned by a logical token. They've done all the legal stuff, and that token now belongs into your wallet, and I can now sell that token, which has got the ownership of that property, to you. We can do that in 5 seconds.
That would be quite phenomenal, wouldn't it?
Isn't that, and this
is
what
no
we're
lawyers, no solicitors,
exactly,
no
and we can do it, and I can select whatever currency you want, and we can even have a a smart contract associated with it, that certain things will take place. Smart contracts, oh my God. The fact that maybe in the future when I buy something, like for example, when I go to Waitrose, once again, taking a UK perspective, when I go and sort of, I don't know, buy my hummus or something, normally they said we'll give you like a 30 days money guarantee. But what would be great is if when I go and buy my hummus, automatically comes with a smart contract that gives me the 30 days money back guarantee. They're on the condition that if I return it back within 30 days or 10 days or whatever the contract is, then they will then replace it. Or for example, I don't know, if you buy maybe insurance, you could say the insurance, if my house got burned down as defined, they need to define something else, defined maybe by the fire brigade, which we all agree, then you will then, as the insurer, will pay me back £1 million. And in return, I then pay you £1,000 a month. That could be set up, thank you very much. Think of how great it is for the insurance services. There won't be so many overheads. And once that contract is set, they set in gold because it will be distributed in the blockchain. So I think there's radical things that are going to be taken. But maybe in the future, you could be sitting there, you can make your asset, which is let's say your car or your house, available to everyone else, not just in the UK, not just in Europe, or the whole world can look at it. You could say, if anyone wants to make me an offer, it's amazing. So they come over here, maybe even auction your house. But what I'm saying, someone's made an offer for £1 million for me. Do I want to take it? And if I wanted to take it, then the contract is that you must show me your £1 million or whatever, and we can exchange it there and then. This is mind-blowing. Yeah. I think this is going to be revolutionary. So many of the invested interests today, I think it's going to be undermined. There's going to be a whole new business paradigm. And I'm really glad to be in the fintech. And maybe not so much for me, but maybe for our children and grandchildren. But I think you'll be surprised how quickly this technology will be adopted.
Well, that was actually going to be my final question for you, is when is this utopian future going to be available?
Right. Well, Arthur C. Clarke just says you're always I think he said you always overestimate how technology would work in the short term, but you underestimate how effective it will be over the long term. So I think this slowly you're beginning to see, and it will be particularly with ChatGPT and the AI coming through, because there will be a very, very major components in collecting up the information. Maybe you can have smart contracts that are based upon the ChatGPT. I think you will see a massive acceleration. I will just mind-blowing. I wish somehow we can just transport ourselves in 10 years' time and actually see the changes that will take place. Almost, I think every financial services today will be radically changed. And I think there will be a lot of businesses that will have to change their business model. Because, the large fat cats that were sitting on the fact that we control monopolistic, this type of network, are no longer be able to rely on those business models. I think it's an exciting future. And it will democratize that everyone around the world, won't be so much the haves and the have-nots. It will become an equal platform. I think it's a brighter future.
I'm very much looking forward to being in that future. Thank you very much for sharing your enthusiasm with us on Seamless TV, powered by the FinTech Times.
Great.